Yes, I want to make sure the village enforces its rights, but also if we call the loan and theoretically Kensington Liquor can't pay, we would need to enforce a judgment. We need to, enforce the judgment against, get a judgment, enforce the judgment against them. They'd likely shutter their doors and not pay. In a way, you might end up throwing good money after bad. As a lawyer,
It's expensive.
It's expensive, but we do have,
also we do have,
I believe it's the house.
Yeah.
Their home.
I mean, the question becomes how far do you want to push it? Do you want to work with them?
I think the in-between where you're assessing the 3% penalty, is that
Yep.
is it number C?
Yes.
Is like, at this point, the way to go. That's just my opinion. You take, someday, I mean, like, you don't wanna,
Yeah.
there's costs
There's a
involved,
path.
there's,
You
there's
start on the
some,
path and you're
Yeah,
you're committed to that.
and you run up the costs pretty quickly.
right, so, but you do have to take some kind of step here.
Yeah.
You know.
Because this isn't the first time.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
And you might have to go to that,
Yeah,
you
but
know, 6 months from now, but.
I mean, back way back when, 15 years ago, my advice would be try to work with them as much and as long as you can. And I realize, Rebecca, you've been doing this for months, but
Yeah,
you know,
which
it's-
is fine, because please know that I don't have a problem doing that, because I don't feel as if we're gonna get paid.
You don't? Ever?
Well,
Have you
that's
been
why I'm
there?
like, okay, as long as, I
Yeah.
prefer to work with it as long as I can to try to get something, because.
My spidey sense tells me that this is the
Done.
end.
Yeah.
I mean, his fridges are empty, his shelves are half full.
He's got cut off from us.
You saw
Yeah.
him buying,
I saw him buying his liquor at Otto's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that was, and they upcharges it and brings it here.
so, yeah, I think we're at the beginning of the end or the end of the end.
And the reason I was at Otto's is because I won't go to Kensington anymore because I never have anything.
Right.
So I'm sure everyone else is making that the same decision. You walk in there one time, it's like, where is everything? You're not going back.
it's kind of a spiral.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so,
So mostly from that perspective, the only thing that I appreciate all your comments.
No, this is good information.
Yeah, but, so,
my feeling is we might just let it lie. If it's gonna go its natural course,
It's gonna
we're,
go, we're gonna have to do what we
we're
have
not
to do
gonna get
anyway.
paid either way.
Yeah.
well, my concern is
And not-
finally bankruptcy and other areas.
We're not
That's not
spending
either.
money, to your point about, trying to get money we're not
And
gonna
also be the
get.
entity that ends up being the one that pushes it
Right.
over the edge.
The only, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, the only thing I see is if this is all inevitable, because I don't see, if a business like this in this economic climate, which is pretty good, can't make it, the only thing I see would be a better solution is something else gets in there that's better, or a better operator or
It's a good
whatever.
corner.
Yeah,
You know,
right, it's a
it's
prominent
It's a
corner,
great
so if
corner,
this was
right?
not a prominent
No, it's
place in a very vibrant block, let's face it, I mean, this
The
block
most
is,
vibrant part of a
Yes.
vibrant block.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I think I made the point last
Yes.
time. No one goes, I wanna go to Shorewood so I can go to Kensington Liquor. They wanna go to Cloud Red, or one of the bars. And that's a natural expansion space for Cloud Red. Rebecca says she won't do it. But, something great could go in there
Yeah.
instead of it just being a drain on our time and money.
yeah, that's kind of my feeling is,
But what else, I mean, you are gonna have, if he's not paying us, he's not paying any, he's like,
Yes.
there's other entities that are gonna push him in to default. And the question is, do you want the village to be the lead on this or not?
For me, it's more so, do I wanna spend the money on legal and
Right.
not get paid?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I guess what it
Yeah,
is.
no, I think.
Yeah,
So give it another 3, I would assess the 3% though.
sure,
Yeah.
well, that,
You might as well just write it off.
yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
either now
But
or
we have-
later he's gonna go bad.
Yeah, I mean, we have that authority to do that, I think we exercise that authority to be consistent, whether we get it or not. It's more,
Well, we should be able to demonstrate to, our constituents that, well, I guess I'm not elected, but that we did do the right, we took the right steps, we did what we were supposed to do.
we tried, I feel like,
Yeah.
hard.
so, if there.
So what's,
so I guess we
would be
we're-
a motion to continue with assessing the 3%, but not to call a loan, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I
At
think
this
I just
time.
wanna be on the same page so I can
Yes,
do something with the
absolutely.
file and then move forward,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
I
feel
would-
like a broken record coming back to you all the time.
I would
You're
make
working
that
hard at it,
motion.
so.
Yeah, I thought this
that-
was the old meeting.
I know, right? I know.
So I think I would move that we continue to not call the loan, assess the 3%, and reconsider the issue in 3 months. So we don't, but it doesn't need to be on our agenda every month.
Yep.
Thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to item 5, various reports.
So there really isn't much, we just met, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, so there hasn't been much new in that respect. Power Cycle, has opened, and then.
When did they open?
I believe I think October 19th.
I don't think they're open.
Justin, well,
I couldn't even find a phone number for that location online, like 5 days ago.
building inspector gave them occupancy on the 19th, we'll say that much. I guess I didn't
Okay.
realize that they weren't holding classes, but
I
they
don't-
have full occupancy, so
They have no
that's-
mention of it anywhere.
Okay, well, so that's,
You're excited
even-
for Power Cycle?
It's like standing at the door.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I have not been up there, but, they had full occupancy as of October 19th, and they're working, through the bid to get a sign grant as well, so I know, there's activity happening there at least.
Okay.
So yeah, I have not been up there to see it, but they did obtain occupancy on the 19th, is what I had learned from the building inspector. The ruckus closed, I think you're probably all familiar with that.
Is there any word on that in terms of whether they're gonna, it's like they're gonna change concepts,
No.
was anything?
There's been no
I
communication.
have nothing unless the bid has, there's been no communication with the village.
Do you have any?
They, yeah, no, they, are looking for someone to, take over their lease. And they had a strong lead that just recently, went elsewhere. So I have, the Ruckus folks talking with that one Mexican restaurant owner that, so, I.
There we go.
Yeah.
People were talking about crowdfunding it to get a Mexican
there you
restaurant in Shorewood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I really like our
hopefully,
Yeah.
I'll hear from next week that the two met, and, because I think, with the Wassermans being the
Yeah.
property
It's
owners,
not
I
Delaware,
think
is it?
things are negotiable, so I'm, yeah.
So-
Close.
Who owns the who owns the property?
Wassermans?
The Wassermans, there's been a lot of questions, at least that I've fielded and responded to, people have asked, whether they're required to give back the money for the facade grant, the answer is no,
No.
that's not located in terms of the paperwork. And I think there's also a little bit confusion with the public in terms of, they didn't own the building, so they paid for the improvements to improve the building, but there's a different property owner who will maintain the benefits from that, so,
Yeah.
just to share with you what I've been communicating.
Okay.
But we've had no direct communication.
Correct, I have not at least, correct. The Oaks, that did have their grand opening on the 29th, I was there for that, I saw a few of you there, so that I do know it did happen. That one. Fair Housing Training Seminars, next Wednesday, if anyone's available to sit in and learn about that.
Yeah, when is that?
5:30 to 7:30 at the Village Center, next Wednesday. I'll be there, I've never been to a training before, I know Erica has been several times probably, but I'll be there to hear it myself, so, got that going on. In terms of grants and loans, the village board has an item to consider suspending the neighborhood loan program on November 5th, so next Monday, just so that we can get some administrative stuff cleaned up and then redefine or reconfirm the program goals and intent. So there'll be discussion of that most likely on Monday.
That's us.
Yeah, CDAs.
The intent would be that it would come back to the CDA for a review of the goals as the housing authority of what gaps might there be in the housing market that this program could fulfill. I've heard from the Senior Resource Center that they think there's need for senior amenities. I've heard from the Conservation Committee, they'd like to see, funding for energy improvements. Currently, the program is down payment assistance for new families to move into Shorewood, so whether or not that's a goal to continue. The attic improvement loan is to add bedrooms to an unfinished attic space. And then there's a duplex conversion portion that, modifies a duplex into a single-family house. Just to confirm whether or not those are housing goals of the village, and whether or not there's anything else, that we can think of that's missing in our market that would need to be, assisted through the program. So, I can just say administratively, it takes a lot of time to talk through these programs with people, and there's a lot of administration behind the scenes, both in planning and in finance, and so at the very least, we'd like administratively to clean up some things. But then if the program's goals are in line with where we think we wanna go, then we can, maintain that as is. But like I said, since my time here, I've heard a lot of questions from other committees asking whether or not those perhaps are more in line. The program was, began in 2009, so that was the village at 2009, we're almost 10 years later, are these still things that, that we're looking to, assist homeowners with, so.
And these are things that are funded by, the loan program in our financial.
No, it's the board, so the board has, there's $535,000 in a revolving loan program,
At the village level.
at the village level.
Okay.
Roughly, it pays itself back, right? So roughly $300,000 is outstanding, there's roughly $200,000 available for loans, or $20,000 loans, so,
It's
that-
like our loan program, but it's our
Right.
village's books.
Right.
We were the agent, I
Right.
guess, to facilitate the program, right? I mean, I guess that's what I would categorize.
And as the housing authority,
Yes.
that's kind of, under the purview of
So we
that.
created the program, is what you mean?
No, you didn't.
No, the village,
So what do we do with the program?
You get.
we kind of
We just
implemented
created it.
and, I mean, we sort of work with staff to.
Right. As the housing authority, it'd be your
Yeah.
recommendation in terms of what you're seeing or what you understand of the housing market that needs to be, assisted, so.
So is the board then turning to us saying, please revisit the program and come back to us with a recommendation, or is the?
The board hasn't weighed in officially, I'll be honest on that, this is coming from staff to the board to ask whether or not they're okay with that. The memo that's drafted does suggest that staff would bring it back to the CDA first to reconfirm the program's goals and intent, and whether or not to maintain those or to look for other things. There's been larger discussion of, with President Rosick, larger discussions of, a housing analysis. There's a lot of talk of, the aging community and whether or not, those kind of improvements need to be looked at, or, right now, it's just kind of a question that I'm getting a lot of noise on into my office about, and so, we just thought it made sense perhaps to freeze it right now, before all the money's gone, and there's nothing that we can do, and like I said, administratively, there's things we have to clean up, so.
So this, I'm sorry, this is staff recommending.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is staff recommending the board on the 5th, I'm putting it on here for your reference, that
Yep.
if it does come back to you, that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I think if you and your day-to-day are experiencing this, clearly
Yeah.
there's a need to revisit.
Cliff notes,
Yeah.
we gotta clean up the administration, no matter what you do, so
Yeah.
and that takes time, right? It sounds so
Mhm.
exciting, right?
Yeah.
But we have administration to clean up, it's extremely time intensive,
Mhm.
and we're not sure if it's meeting goals. So in the scope of us work planning, so right now, internally, we're going through a process of where I'm asking everyone to work plan, the different things that they have going on, just taking a little bit of a different approach to see what's on the docket. This is not, we wanna freeze it until we can see what that looks like, and then program it in to get people to weigh in. We just need to push a pause button for a minute.
The time intensive part, can you talk about that just for a minute? Like, is that people phoning in
Yeah,
and
but
saying,
it's
I don't
phone calls
understand, I don't
asking-
understand what this
How does this
brochure
work?
says?
Yeah.
Yep, so I probably meet with,
Cause I've looked into it and it all
Right.
made perfect sense to me without making a phone call, so I don't know what's
You're so
confusing about it.
Yeah,
I mean, we have the brochures and stuff that seem to
I
outline
can
it.
speak to it too if after you.
yeah, sure, so Erica, administered it for
Yeah.
multiple years, obviously. So typically what happens is someone will call, the very first step is to meet with staff to to go through the 13 points of what it is they have to initial, if they understand what it, where it goes. And then oftentimes we never hear from someone again, right? So they go to the first step to do that, so there's work in leading up to that. Then some people go as far as, asking for it. We do inspections to confirm that the property actually is what they say it is, right? The attic is unfinished or, whatever. So some people go that far, then they'll stop there. So there's a lot of staff time answering phone calls, meeting with people, you know, inspecting properties.
Gotcha.
Then they also do sometimes go as far to get, then they go as far to the bank, and then they hold off on closing for 90 days, and the bank comes back and says, well, should we get new numbers because we're not comfortable that now it's been 90 days, and then we start the whole process over again. So it's a great concept, and people are really excited about doing it. It's just, it doesn't seem to line up with the reality of their projects, and so we oftentimes go over the steps 2 or 3 times before they actually close and start the process. So, and then even when they close sometimes, even when they close, the contractor's like, oh, no, I'm not available for 6 more months. You know, I can't do it the time I thought it was. So that's just how things happen. And if Erica's got other things to fill in, but I can just say coming into it, it was a learning curve for me to understand that that's kind of where these things end up, is that you meet with someone
Yeah.
multiple times before it actually goes anywhere. So
And just getting the appropriate amount of bids required for it just pushes it out even further. And everything he said, absolutely, I'm gonna add one more thing, when it finally does go forward, a lot of the owners like to be their own general contractors, and it's a hot mess. So you're getting different bids that constantly change from the electrical contractor, plumbing, HVAC, it's just, and the paperwork that you're given is mess, so it's a lot of administrative work. Put it on hold.
Are you talking about me?
Perfect. Joe, you're our
For the
example
recording,
of how to
put it
do
in the
well.
minutes. Joe was general and he was a hot mess.
I could feel it.
Okay, what else you got?
lastly, Stone Creek, Eric and I met earlier this week to confirm the final reimbursement, and I think that paperwork's gonna be submitted
Yep.
shortly.
Yep.
I don't know if there's anything else to add besides those, but that's what I had in the last.
Anything new, exciting?
There really isn't. I'm having the same conversations with the same people. There's not been any new inquiries since your last meeting. I just I have to touch base with Cats to see if there's been any movement on that, but nothing per se new.
One question, just on the Columbia St. Mary's
Oh,
thing. There was a question as to
Yep.
how they're gonna be, I don't know if it's zoned or whatever,
Yeah.
for nonprofit status. I think that that's an important issue, obviously, from a tax standpoint.
Yep, touch base with the assessor, at your last meeting, he was out of town, so I
Okay.
couldn't get an update, but, so they have to actually file, an application for nonprofit status by March 15th, if they intend to move forward with that. They've filed no application. Once the application goes through, it will hit the assessment office, and then they'll review it to see if it's
But
applicable or not.
you can dispute that, right, if you want to. I mean, the fact that, I'm just curious how it all works, because the nonprofit profit thing with hospitals has always confused me personally. It's all,
garbage.
what?
It's garbage, frankly.
Yeah, and, I'd hate to see us lose that tax base, but I don't know how it all works. I'm just curious if it can be.
Well, it's a standardized form that the
Yeah,
state
sure.
has,
Yeah.
that they would have to meet the tests for being classified, and then the assessor would need to approve it and agree to however that works. So I've asked them, the minute you see the application comes through, before you process it, reach out to me. I'd like to review it, I'd like
Okay.
to see what this says, but just know that nothing's been filed to date.
Okay.
And one of the things, I know that they're,
They're already located in Shorewood, though. Are they?
correct with their rent.
They're renting,
Yeah, that's the difference.
so the building that they're currently in
Gotcha.
is
Mhm.
paying taxes.
And they've
'cause-
not made any assertions to us that they would be filing.
No.
They will.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would think, oh, sorry, just go.
No, it's a separate topic, so you go ahead.
Well, wait, but yeah, let's not leave that yet.
Yeah, so you go ahead.
I was
When
just
we're
gonna,
done.
I was gonna say, I bet that I would doubt that once they're approved by the state for nonprofit status, that we have much in the way of,
Right.
that we
There's
can,
no
already- yeah,
leeway.
yeah, we can't really do too much. I mean, certainly we wanna see it and we wanna know, but I don't think that there's any pushback for us to do, and I'm kinda
Challenge.
guessing, but
So no one has talked to him about a pilot?
Yeah, my understanding is you can request, you can't require,
Right, I know,
correct?
right, but we should at least, make that
What's that?
attempt.
Put
The
them on
payment in
record
lieu
to,
of
that
taxes.
they, yeah.
That-
That's what I would like to see,
Right, I
but
would
that,
too.
them say, no, we think
Yeah, we don't
we
wanna
deserve
do,
to
yeah,
not pay
that we shouldn't
taxes
pay, right.
or anything,
Right,
and
but
we're
we
gonna
should
operate in your
ask.
community and put them on
Not pay.
record as that, and then
Mhm.
let people discuss.
We'd be happy to take that direction and issue that letter on behalf of the CDA.
Good.
Does the CDA agree with it? I think that's a good path.
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Okay.
I see concurrence on that.
Fabulous.
I don't know if this is factual, but, I've heard some rumor that Harley's is moving to Whitefish Bay.
I thought they were closing like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so did I.
Well,
He
they
sold it.
sold the
sold it.
business, they
Yeah.
moved up north, and.
Oh, so he sold.
He sold it to
sold
a,
it
it's a
to-
group out of Green, were they,
Um,
shop in Green Bay or?
I have a
interesting.
yes,
Right?
but somebody was in there recently and was telling me that they're moving to Whitefish Bay, and I just don't know if any of that is factual. So I don't,
I have not heard.
Okay.
I tried to meet the owner a couple months back, and he just wasn't available.
sure,
I think-
it's a big.
It's a
Try again.
local owner or
Yeah, they,
No,
well, I
it's
think
Green
that
Bay.
they're,
Green Bay?
they have a couple.
Yeah, they
There's
have a
like
few other
2
stores
other
around the
businesses
state.
that they're- Yeah,
It's like,
local to Wisconsin.
But they don't live in Lake.
it's modern man, I think is the
Yeah.
umbrella,
Mm,
and they kept the Harley's name for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Hmm.
I haven't heard anything. Have you heard
No.
anything? Okay. It's a big space.
Mhm.
It is a big space. Okay. No other items, there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second?
Second.
Good, we're adjourned, look at that.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for Ed.
Did your candy
Oh,
go?
good. I look forward to
Halloween
answering
candy?
that for you.
When
Or
I
at least
walked, when I walked
Yeah, we were-
over to